Welcome to our special show in which we'll focus on the reason behind an unprecedented low in India-Canada ties. You must have guessed it, that's the Khalistani issue. Now, several Khalistani extremists have been operating in Canada, and India has repeatedly said that Canada is proving to be a safe haven for extremists, and Canada has been complacent to some extent. The relations between the two countries nosedived after the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused Indian government agents of involvement in the killing of the Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar on Canadian soil. He's also a Canadian resident, a Canadian citizen, and he was killed in June. These allegations were, of course, categorically denied by India. So amid this backdrop, let's take a deep dive into the facts we know of the Khalistani operations in Canada and the Canadian government's role and what they've done till now. So let's first start with the latest development, the latest revelation. Now, an audio clip of Khalistani terrorist Arshdeep Dalla threatening a Punjab businessman for extortion has surfaced. And this is one of the many stories that show you how easily the Khalistani extremists are operating in Canada. Now, this is proof of how Khalistani terrorists and gangsters sitting in Canada are targeting India. External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar, remember, has also repeatedly said that Canada is a hub of terrorists and gangsters. Take a look at our report of this audio conversation between Arshdeep Dalla and a businessman sitting in Punjab.
ਬੰਦੇ ਦੇ ਘਰੇ ਭਰਾਵਾ 100 ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ ਇੱਕ ਮਿੰਟ ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੇ ਘਰੇ 100 ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਵੇਂ ਮੈਂਟਲੀ ਡਿਸਟਰਬ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ
ਚੱਲ ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ ਇੱਕ
ਹਾਂ
ਹੈਲੋ
ਹਾਂ ਸੁਣੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ
ਮੈਂਟਲੀ ਡਿਸਟਰਬ ਕਰਿਆ
ਹਾਂ
ਮੈਂਟਲੀ ਡਿਸਟਰਬ ਕਰਿਆ ਸੀ
ਤੇ ਮੈਂਟਲੀ ਡਿਸਟਰਬ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੀ ਇਹ
ਕਰਿਆ ਨਾ ਹੁਣ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਫਿਜ਼ੀਕਲੀ ਡਿਸਟਰਬ ਹੋਣੇ ਤਿਆਰ ਰਹਿ
ਚੱਲ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ
This is the voice of Khalistani terrorist Arshdeep Dalla on an extortion call from Canada with a businessman. Dalla has been extorting crores from big businessmen, contractors, singers and liquor traders in Punjab and using the money to promote the Khalistani cause and terrorism. Arshdeep Dalla is India's most wanted terrorist and the NIA has offered a reward of 10 lakh rupees for information that can lead to his arrest. Dalla, who belongs to Moga in Punjab, is very close to Hardeep Singh Nijjar and Sukha Duneke, both killed in Canada recently. He is believed to have links with Pakistan's ISI and terrorist organization Lashkar-e-Taiba. He also has links with Rinda, a Khalistani terrorist based in Pakistan. According to Arshdeep Dalla's dossier, there are 25 cases registered against him in India, including many UAPA cases. In this 2-minute audio clip shared by intelligence agencies, he demands money from a Punjab businessman.
ਹੁਣ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ
ਮੇਰਾ ਭਰਾ ਉਧਰੋਂ ਤੂੰ ਬਲੌਕ ਮਾਰ ਲੱਗੀ ਸੀ
ਉਹ ਭਰਾਵਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਕਹਤਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਇੰਨੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਹੈਗੇ
ਯਾਰ ਦੇਖ ਇਹ ਨੰਬਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਦੇਤਾ
ਹਾਂ
ਉਦੋਂ ਤੂੰ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਛੱਡ ਦੇ
ਹਾਂ
ਮੈਂ ਲੈ ਲਿਆ
ਅੱਛਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਭਰਾਵਾ ਮਸਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਪਾਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਆਂਗੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਕੋਈ 2 ਨੰਬਰ ਦੀ ਕਮਾਈ ਹੈਗੀ
ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੂੰ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਪਾਸ ਕਰਦਾ
ਹਾਂ
ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਸੈੱਟ ਆ ਤੇਰਾ ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਤੂੰ ਟੂਨ ਜੀ ਚ ਨਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਟੂਨ ਚ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਫਿਰ ਤੂੰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਹੀ ਕਹਿ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੇਖ ਲੈ
ਤੂੰ
ਵੇਖ ਹੀ ਲਊਂਗਾ
ਚੱਲ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਬਾਈ ਤੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਹੀ ਲੈ
ਤੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਤੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਵਾਅਦਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਗੱਲ ਚਲੋ
ਤੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਕਰ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਆਪਦੇ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਨੰਬਰ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਫੋਨ ਲਾ ਲਾ
Security agencies have confirmed that this is Dalla's voice. According to security agencies, Dalla has been carrying on his extortion business from Canada, including the recent killing of a Congress leader in Moga. With camera person Arun Negi and Mukesh Singh Sengar, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Now, India has repeatedly called out the operations of Khalistani extremists going on in Canada. The External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar recently called out Canada for what he called permissiveness for terror. In fact, he went on to say that let's not normalize what's happening in Canada, and he alluded to double standards with which Justin Trudeau's allegations vis-a-vis India were dealt with, saying would these allegations be accepted if they were directed to another country. New Delhi rejected Trudeau's allegations from day one and called them politically motivated.
Let's not normalize what is happening in Canada. If it had happened to any other country, would they have taken it, so calmly? So I think, it's necessary to call out, we are a democracy. We don't need to learn from other people what freedom of speech is about. But we can tell people this: we don't think freedom of speech extends to incitement to violence. That to us is misuse of freedom. It's not a defense of freedom. The ongoing problem really revolves around the permissiveness in regard to terrorism, extremism and violence. And this permissiveness is also reflected in the fact that some important extradition requests have not been responded to from their side. And most important, the fact that our diplomatic missions and our diplomatic personnel have been consistently and continuously intimidated in Canada.
Now, to help us demystify and decode all these complex issues, we have Mr. Yashovardhan Azad joining us on the broadcast now. He's the former Special Director of the Intelligence Bureau. Thanks very much, Mr. Azad, for joining us this morning. And, we've put out these reports that make it evident how Khalistani extremists are operating in Canada. We saw that report of Arshdeep Dalla making calls from Canada, making extortion calls. So while these Khalistani terrorists are most wanted here in India, it's business as usual for them in Canada, isn't it?
Yes, the refusal of Canada to recognize our genuine concerns is a serious problem, and that is why we have a dive down in the Indo-Canada relations. All these Khalistani terrorists, let me say that their impact on Khalistani secessionism, what they are doing over there in Punjab is minimal. But what they are doing is they are continuing with their extortion rackets. And because the Canada government is not interfering in the name of freedom of speech, it is really unfortunate that these activities will only get a fillip. Now, there are many gurdwaras with which they are associated. And what is happening is, though time and again it has been proved that these Khalistanis are in a minuscule minority. However, the point is that the majority of the Indians who are there are too busy with their jobs to get into this rubbish. And that's why they are playing their overhand, trying to influence politics, trying to do funding to these politicians, and also while running the extortion rackets. And
right.
Last point, also, they are all going there on Farji passports, and they are claiming asylum and are trying to live there as refugees.
Right. And Mr. Azad, I want to ask you this, that India has repeatedly categorically said that Canada is a hub of extremists and gangsters. India has also said that we have repeatedly sent Canada information about these extremist activities, but there's been no action taken. Nijjar, for instance, was seen with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, despite an extradition request for him from India. So there's enough to say that Canada is knowingly letting these Khalistani activities continue under their watch. Would you say that?
Well, let me say that Nijjar would have been alive if they would have extradited him to India to stand trial. I mean, after all, the Interpol, if that issues a red corner notice, obviously there are very, very legitimate claims to bring him back to India. So yes, I mean, unfortunately, because in the name of in the name of freedoms of speech, if you're allowing open secessionism, then it's also a danger to the free world, because anything can happen in any country, promoting secessionism in the name of free speech. So obviously there is going to be a serious problem. And I'm happy now that the External Affairs Minister is going around the capitals, and in reply to their rubbish allegation that the Indian agents have done it, we are laying bare exactly what is happening in Canada and what these Khalistani terrorists are doing. They're absolutely a nuisance, not only here, but they will soon become a nuisance in Canada too.
Right, and Mr. Azad, we'll get our viewers more facts on the operations of these Khalistani extremists in Canada. As you mentioned, it's a very insightful conversation. We'll just take a short break now. We'll be back with you for more details on this and to get our viewers more facts. Stay tuned. Welcome back. As we're focusing on whether Khalistani terrorists get a safe haven in Canada, let's look at what we know till now about their operations there. Over the last 5 years, India has shared evidence on many terrorists that are operating in Canada. According to Indian agencies, even now, 21 criminals who are wanted in India are walking free in Canada, and Canada is yet to take any action against them. Take a look at our report.
India-Canada relations at an all-time low, precipitated by Canada accusing India of a role in the killing of this man, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a Khalistani Tiger Force operative and one of India's most wanted criminals. Vancouver, Surrey, Ottawa and Brampton, these cities are notorious for anti-India propaganda, and as per dossiers of India intelligence agencies, as many as 21 of India's most wanted have been living in these areas for several years. The National Investigation Agency claims it has shared not only information, but also evidence about their involvement in anti-India activities. But while the Canadian police did issue notices against some of the Khalistani operatives, the main protagonists are often seen walking freely in public. Nijjar, for instance, was seen with Prime Minister Trudeau despite an extradition request for him from India. As the dossier shared by India, there are extradition requests against Babbar Khalsa International leader Lakhbir Singh Landa and gangster-turned-terrorist Khalistan Tiger Force leader Arshdeep Singh, also known as Arshdeep Dalla. NIA had filed a charge sheet against both in July. There are also red notices against Goldie Brar, Malkeet Singh Fauji, Gurpinder Singh, Gurjeet Singh Cheema and Gurpreet Singh. In addition, Interpol's more informal blue notices have also been issued against half a dozen Khalistani gangsters based in Canada. NIA also alleges that the key organizations behind all these separatist activities is Sikhs for Justice, run by Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. Pannu recently asked all Hindus in a video to leave Canada and also allegedly threatened Indian diplomats. Also, according to the evidence collected by the Punjab police, it is Sikhs for Justice which is funding anti-India activities in Canada. 220 individuals or families in Canada have received financial assistance from SFJ in a few years. Another 178 individuals got 7.19 lakh rupees from SFJ activists. SFJ also carried out online propaganda, and action was taken by Punjab police against 142 websites and over 100 social media handles.
Primary concern of Indians is safety and security of Indian diplomats and diaspora staying in Canada, because SFJ leader has been issuing death threats openly, and Canada has been doing little to ensure the security of Indians staying there. Meanwhile, both the countries are trying to reach out to their allies so that they can project their side of truth and negate the other side. In New Delhi, this is Neeta Sharma reporting for NDTV.
Mr. Yashovardhan Azad, the former Special Director of the Intelligence Bureau, is here with us on the broadcast. And Mr. Azad, as we were discussing and as we've just showed our viewers, that India has presented series of evidence of Khalistani extremists operating in Canada, as this report also just showed us. And even dossiers make it clear that present evidence of these Khalistani extremist links with Pakistan's ISI and Lashkar-e-Toiba. So while India has presented evidence, Canada till now has not presented any evidence to back the allegations they made against India of an involvement in Nijjar's killing.
Priyanshi, you're right. You know, NIA has collected some very solid evidence. In fact, there is a mountain of dossiers which are, giving a very, very clear idea of the kind of crimes they are indulging in. But let me tell you, it's not going to be easy work in Canada for the simple reason, even if you're talking about Nijjar some time back, Nijjar was meeting on a regular basis the CSIS, the Canada Security and Intelligence Agencies. And in fact, the ISI is in frequent touch with these people in Ottawa and Vancouver and other places. And you'd also recall that the meeting with Tara also took place under the benign oversight of the ISI. So given a situation like this, when the mountains of dossiers have been presented and Canada is not acting, and mind you, there's another issue also. Canada does not only have a history of having the Khalistani terrorists, but you remember in the heydays of the LTT, much of the LTT support and activities were also coming from Canada. In fact, people say that the Russian immigrants there decide the Russian policy, the Armenians there decide the Armenia policy. And so the Punjab policy is decided by the Khalistanis.
Right.
So it's a serious issue we have to look into very carefully.
Absolutely. Mr. Azad, as always, a very insightful conversation with you. Thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast. The point is made loud and clear that India has presented series of evidence, but these Khalistani extremists walk free in Canada without any action being taken against them.